This is the story of a man who was known to have a dangerous disease. Still, he was able to leave the USA, travel around Europe for a couple of weeks, fly to Montreal, and then drive back into the USA. His case raises questions about personal freedom and public health. Government officials are now working with health officials from several countries. They are trying to find more than 80 passengers who sat within 2 rows of the man during the transatlantic flights that he took. The man is infected with XDR tuberculosis, which is a serious lung disease that is resistant to almost all antibiotics. The patient is now in the hospital in Atlanta, USA. He told reporters that he had not been ordered to avoid traveling even after he told health officials of his plans to go to Greece to be married and to go to Rome on his honeymoon. However, health officials say the health department clearly told him not to travel. He was aware he had a serious disease and that he should not travel. The sick man left Atlanta on May 12 and arrived in Paris the next day. But he left Paris before he could be tracked down. Health officials finally found him in Rome on May 22. A health officer called him and advised him that he should not get on a commercial flight and that he needed to stay where he was. The officer also advised the sick man to wear a mask in public. Finally, the health officer said the government officials would help him return safely to the USA. But when a doctor working with the Italian Ministry of Health went to the hotel to see the patient, he had checked out. Next, government officials wrote a no-fly order in order to prevent the man from boarding a commercial flight. However, they were too late again. By May 24, the patient was already landing in Montreal, Canada. From Montreal, the patient and his new wife drove across the Canadian border into New York, even though border officers at airports and land crossings had been ordered to stop them. A short time later, the patient decided to go to a New York hospital voluntarily. At the hospital, he was placed in isolation for 3 days. Later, he was flown to Atlanta at his request. He is not thought to be highly contagious and is showing few symptoms. His doctor is recommending that he be moved to a hospital in Denver, and the sick man hopes he will be transferred there soon. The patient did not break any laws, but some argue he is guilty of a crime anyway. Dave Streitweiser, medical director for MedLink, says, "It wasn't as if the man had an illness nobody knew about. He had been told what he should and should not do, and he ignored it. I think what he did is criminally wrong, and he is guilty of a crime because he knowingly put other passengers in danger. On the other hand, any time you get on a crowded mode of transport, whether it's an airplane or a bus, you may be exposed to somebody else's disease. You can't make the risk zero." Michael Osterholm of the University of Minnesota, an expert on disaster planning, says, "The event is a good reminder for the airlines to be ready for these kinds of passengers. But I wonder what would happen in the first days of a flu epidemic, where instead of 1 sick patient there could be 50. The system is simply not ready for such a disaster. We have to plan for this."